Hi guys. All right, so we are live. I actually surprised that I'm actually on time. I was getting sidetracked. Give me 1 second. Oh, hold on for just 1 minute, guys. I gotta see what my daughter's doing because I think she just messed up dinner. Go.
I did it!
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. She got confused on dinner, so she ended up making two different kinds of hamburger helper. So, but anyway. All right, so as much as I really wanted to do how I usually do everything, it kind of didn't work out that way this week. I was having some health issues, so it didn't work out that way. But I'm on the mend and everything. But probably within the next couple months, end of this year, beginning of next, the show will be coming to a halt for a while. I will keep everybody updated on everything. Jeremy of Things Network, we all know Jeremy. Just you guys know that I stream on two different platforms every Saturday. Jeremy knows what's going on, so I will keep everybody informed and I will make sure to let everyone know when the show will be coming to a stop and for how long. So I'm not going to go into any details right now because as of right now, I don't have any answers, so I can't really. So, but should we get into our lovely locations? Now tonight's locations, they are fairly known, as we all know. We know the Lalaurie House, and we know the Mandeville Horror House. Those two locations are one of the main, two most known locations that we all know. So, hey Sadie. And so, which one should we start with? Actually, you know what? We're going to go with the Lalaurie House because one of my followers. Oh, yeah? It's been back up for the last couple weeks. Okay, so one of my followers that used to watch the show. What? Oh, how to set your background for lives? I can teach you. Yeah, not a problem. So, anyway, getting distracted. One of my followers that used to watch the show Toxic Chaos and everything, Mort, he is on here, sent me a book that he said was haunted, and I received it, which was awesome. I love this book to death. And turns out that it's a pretty cool book, actually. Hold on here. Thank you for the rose, Sadie. Give me 1 minute. I'm taking my background off. So these guys, my other platform, can see it. But it's called the Hell House. And when I originally got it, it did have a different feel to it. It's got a lot of different haunted locations in it. Let me see if I can find it. It's an old book. Well, I guess it's not going to take the background off. Ah. Something must have gotten on my book. I don't want the Caribbean. I want this. I know the house is in here. Thank you, Sadie. I really appreciate it. Like, I have not actually read through the book itself, but I need to. Honestly, I do. Oh, and both of my locations are actually in this book. I just discovered the Amityville Horror House, too. So, if that's not something to go by. I am trying to find the house. There it is. See? Both other locations. And you guys can't see it because, you know what? Let's do this. Move this. Background. Anyway, I will have to make a video on the book later on, because TikTok's not wanting to work the right way. And you know, I thought I had a bookmark in this book. Thought I did. But I guess I don't. I'm really upset because there's something got on my book. And it never comes off my shelf, not unless I'm using it for my show. So, oh, thank you, Sadie, for the heart puff. And it's even got Alcatraz in here, guys. Alright, anyway. Let me slip this out of its little thing here first. It's my bookmark that my moderator and really good friend bought me. Alright, we're going to go to LaLaurie House first. And we all know it's in New Orleans. And this house was a house of horror. Literally house of horror. Miss LaLaurie herself was a mean lady. She was so bad to her slaves. So it was 3 stories, 40 rooms, and it was a very plain mansion, but except for like the outside, it had the lace decorative iron work around the whole second floor balconies. The first floor had arched windows, and in the inside, it was, besides it being plain looking on the outside, it was exquisitely and lavishly decorated on the inside with only the best of the very best. So she had to have top of the notch. Talking about a high maintenance woman. Don't come for me, girls. The portico near the entrance had marble floors and gold glided mirrors. The mahogany doors of the parlors and dining rooms had hand carved panels of flowers and shrubs faces. Crystal chandeliers lit the room with hundreds of candles. Tall stone fireplaces were in every room. Satin and velvet hung the walls, and guests ate off of the finest china. So, with that being said, we're gonna. That was just a little background. Like that was like the inside and all that good stuff. Um, it Lewis and Delphine Lalaurie bought the house from a Mr. I cannot pronounce that name, and I'm not going to try. So on August 13th of 1831, in high society New Orleans, happy to have such a grand place to hold their gala balls and social events because they were all high up in the food chain. While Mrs. Lalaurie was the marvelous hostess and knew how to entertain her guests on her social events and her balls, she was also proven to be an evil, cruel, sadistic psychopath when it came to the treatment of her slaves, like I said before. She had to flee New Orleans in 1834 when firefighters discovered how she tortured, maimed, and killed many of her slaves in a slow and agonizing ways. In the garret apartment, the attic, and other places throughout the mansion, thoroughly enjoying the sadistic cruelty of her actions. So there was a fire of in the mansion, and let me see if I can find it here, either in my notes and stuff. All right, yeah. On April 10th of 34, a fire broke out in the mansion. A group of onlookers gathered outside the home as it burned. According to the New Orleans Bee, the city French language newspaper, firefighters discovered 7 slaves, more or less horribly mutilated, locked inside the building as they attempted to control the flames. The Bee went on to condemn barbarous and finished, I cannot pronounce the word, committed by the woman Lalaurie upon the persons of her slaves. The firefighters brought these enslaved people to the Cabalito. I cannot pronounce these words, guys. I'm so sorry. And as word got out about how she treated slaves and how abusive she was, and neighbors become enraged. According to the Bee, the crowd of 4,000 people gathered at the Calabito. Neighbors ransacked the mansion and destroyed what was left of the burned mansion. The Lalauries fled to Lake Pontchartrain and ultimately relocated to Paris. Madame Lalaurie died in Paris, but it is believed that her body was brought back to New Orleans and buried at the St. Louis, Missouri. So, not very much history on the little place. So a house cook is who started the fire in the kitchen while she was chained to the kitchen floor. All this barbarity was stopped. No, firefighters rescued some of the victims who were still alive in the torture chambers, which in turn brought light to Mrs. Lalaurie's secret to see for themselves how Lalaurie had cut off her victims' body parts, cut other opened other areas of human bodies and pulled things out, removed smaller parts, sewing eyes and mouths shut, etc. Years later, when the workmen were remodeling the interior, they found the skeletons of other victims dumped in holes under sections of the mansion's floor, so she wouldn't have to answer for their demise. An evil and sadistic woman, this Miss Lalaurie was. And then in 1837, the mansion was sold, but people didn't stay there long because of all the ghostly hauntings that were said to be rumored there. And aren't, I'm not sure, yeah, Linda, read Linda. Jules Vinci wasn't bothered at all and lived there until the 1880s and 90s. Around the turn of the century, the mansion was turned into apartments for Italian immigrants. The owners had a hard time keeping renters. Finally, in the 20th century, the mansion was renovated to its former splendor and is a favorite place for tourists to visit. So, the address is 1140 Royal Street, New Orleans, Louisiana. So there was like hey Adrian, 2 centuries of paranormal hauntings for this mansion. So for like I just previously said, the owners that turned it into apartments for the Italian immigrants were having a hard time keeping renters due to the paranormal activity that was said to be happening. Um, so after the fire turned into apartments, and a tenant was actually unalived in these apartments after it got turned into apartments. However, the unusual nature of his death suggested ties to paranormal activity. So people were saying that his death was due to paranormal activity. Now, in all my years of doing research for paranormal locations, this is not the first time I've ever come across something like this. I have come across countless and countless and countless of unalivings and stuff suspected that paranormal activity has some way, somehow influenced the death of these individuals. But then again, nothing can be tied back to anybody. So when you're in having as much I just really lost my train of thought. I did. It went away. So while going through the history and people knowing the history of these locations and having a very unusual death in the location, and nothing can be tied to anybody in these locations, like these deaths are just like a mystery, and knowing the history and what's happened there and all the tragedy that's happened there, they're gonna sit there and say it's been paranormal activity. So even spookier, in the mid-19th century, the Lalaurie Mansion functioned as an all-girls school where students often experienced bizarre and random physical assaults. Today, the Lalaurie Mansion is as stately as it is spooky and remains an iconic New Orleans landmark. So let's get into the paranormal aspects of everything, shall we? And I have never actually read what the book had said. I referenced it, and it was pretty much the same when I was going through and doing my research for the house, it was pretty much the same as what I found in my research. And then it goes into the paranormal aspect of everything. So, but let's get into the paranormal aspect of stuff because we have 10 minutes left for this location. So, throughout the years, many incidents have been reported, general activity, general paranormal activity, hearing voices, hearing footsteps, feeling cold spots, just what we would consider our general activity would happen. And then people started seeing shadow figures falling at the living with riding crops. Not sure what that means. I must have been half asleep in it, didn't it? And then terribly made translucent apparitions have haunted the living, showing them the scars of their torturous ordeals. So that right there was showing, it's saying that people are saying that they have seen these poor souls of the tortured, and they were showing them what Mrs. LaLaurie had done to them. And it's horrible, really horrible. And throughout the years, neighbors have reported the mansion's windows opening and closing by themselves and the front door opening by itself. Oh, did you put cheese on it?
I put the cheese in.
Oh, okay.
And the bacon bits.
Oh, okay. That's a lot. Thank you.
I did too.
Give me 1 minute, guys. I have barely been able to eat because I've been having stomach problems, so I'm going to take a bite or two of this, and we'll continue with the paranormal aspects. So she mixed chicken Alfredo and chicken bacon ranch together by accident.
Oopsie. It smells good. Sorry, Michelle. Yeah. It's the plate and spoon wash.
She stood right here where I'm pointing at and watched me take a bite. And when I told her, I shook my head, yeah, she got all excited. I just want to put it down now. Okay. The auditory type of activity that people heard is tortured screams and groans have been heard from the attic. Sounds of invisible chains being dragged down the staircase have been reported. And then the heartbreaking cries of a little slave girl who had been heard near the shrub fountain in the courtyard. The spirits of the slaves, a servant sleeping in the barn, awoke to find a pale, black-haired woman choking him. A black apparition took the woman's hands off of his throat, and they both vanished, to the astonishment and relief of the servants. A large black man wrapped in chains on the main stairs confronted an Italian attendant, but disappeared on the last step. Some passing by at night have seen the reenactment of the young slave girl jumping off of the roof to her death to escape the crazy mistress and her malicious whip. The girl had escaped from her chains and run onto the roof with LaLaurie not far behind. The slave girl's dying screams are chilling to all that hear them now, and they must have been in the neighbor who saw the original incident in 1833 and reported it to police. The event was on the first of many that began to show outsiders of what was going on inside of the house. And then some have seen the spirit of Miss Lalaurie. A young Italian mother found the apparition of a wealthy white woman, later identified as Mrs. Lalaurie herself, bending over the woman's sleeping baby. She has been seen on the steps of the mansion, around the mansion. So, yeah, that is the Lalaurie mansion. And actually, I want to say, give me one second. This is actually pretty good. I'm gonna take a bite and I'm gonna look and see if it's on the National Registry of Historic Places because I cannot remember. Oops.
One more.
Mhm.
One more.
Mm-mm.
Gotta get it.
And it's in the French Quarters, as we all know. "200 years of paranormal activity has been reported at this house." I can't find. I don't think it is, but it might be. And I will definitely look it up again, and I will see, and I will make sure to put that in my file along with updating you guys. So now we're gonna go to one of my favorite locations that I really want to go see one of these times. I've been by there, but I've never actually been there because my dad was a trucker, and so I got to drive past the house. And I always thought it was felt off to me, and I never realized it was actually a haunted location until I started looking up places. All right, now let's get into this beauty, the Maniville Horror House. House of Horror, sorry. So, again, not a lot of information was found on this house either, but we all know it's a pretty popular place. Um, it has actually been, the address has been changed, but I will give the old address. But it wouldn't be hard to find. All right. So the history is not just limited to the horrendous murders that happened in the place, what the family that bought it after everything happened experienced afterward, but world renowned paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren actually investigated this house. And they watched, and they also studied the land and what took place years before this. So, before everything took place, they had the Shinnecock Indians once housed in the enclosure used to confine the sick, the insane, and the dying through the land investigation. So this actually the land had in like where the home is actually at. Indians had placed some kind of enclosure there to hold like the sick, the dying, the insane. So um they believed that the inflicted suffering was a combination of negative energies that left the property a magnet for demonic spirits and and the supernatural. The Warrens believe that this had significant impact on the lives of the both families. That's just not all. The local historical society claims that the Shinnecock would not have used the land as a burial mound due to the belief that it was infested with demons. Some paranormal investigators claimed otherwise, allegedly during one investigation, the spirit of a Shannon Indian chief was conjured. The chief told the investigator that the land was used to as a burial ground. So what happened and why did it happen? Only to the Defoe family and the Lutz family. I always think whenever I'm coming like doing research and I come across locations and I dig into the history of them. We all know like from the ground up about how Indian stuff pops up all the time. Like what most of the time it says that these lands are cursed. Like the Indians cursed the lands. So cannot help but wonder what actually happened before that these locations were built. Sorry, my dog keeps trying to get my food. Alright. Oh. Oh my goodness. I am. So the house became famous when the DeFeo murders had happened. Many claim that the hauntings and stuff that DeFeo was having were fake and a hoax. One thing is for sure, 6 gruesome murders took place in the house by one family member. The culprit is the son of the two adult victims, Ronald DeFeo Sr. and his wife, Louise Ronald DeFeo Jr. So Ronald is the one that killed 6 of the family members in the house. And that's what became a local legend. Let me So it was located at 112 Ocean Avenue, but like I said, it has since been the address has been redone. And so it happened on November 13th of 1974. And during this whole time, Mr. Lutz was saying that he was hearing voices. He would wake up at 3 a.m. and all this paranormal activity was happening. And we've seen all the movies. We know this house. We love this house. We know the history of this house. And so when I was looking at this house and trying to find the history on it, it just wasn't a lot to go off of. All I kept finding was the murders that happened. So, Mr. Lutz, why did I say Lutz? DeFeo kept waking up, and then on that morning, he ended up waking up. It's Long Island, New York, by the way, guys. Waking up and saying that he heard somebody in his head saying, "Kill them, kill them, kill them." And a lot of things have happened before that, and I honestly was trying to find if I could find it. That's not it. All right. So he ended up taking a 35 caliber action Marvel pew pew, and first was the mother and father. Then his story changed several different times throughout the years in different interviews. One fact remains: his parents were the first to be shot twice, and they both died. Then he moved to his four siblings: John, which was 18, Allison 13, Mark 12, and John Matthew 9. His siblings were each only shot once. However, all victims were laying face down on their beds. Some physical evidence shows that Mr. DeFeo's mother, Louise, and his sister Allison were probably awake when they were shot. Just try to imagine, like you're sitting there awake, and then all of a sudden, your son comes in, shoots your husband, shoots you, and then you get, you're a child and you get started awake, and then you get scared and you try to hide, but can't hide, and he finds you. So let me see if I can find where it said it was. So it was also said that he was under the control of evil spirits. He confessed to his deeds. DeFeo's defense later would attempt to enter an insanity plea. DeFeo claimed he was guided by the malevolent voices in his head and couldn't control his behaviors. It was a claim, and the murders themselves that spawned the nation itself was haunted, and the DeFeo family was a whole we're victims of the house. However, a look at DeFeo's family junior life provides an alternate reading of the events. So they said that he had an abusive father, and
That's enough.
that's good. I'm trying to eat it slowly and do my show at the same time.
Yeah.
Hey,
Can I have the rest of the bill, please?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
An abusive father, a passive mother. He had a troubled childhood that led to substance abuse as an adult. He not only lashed out as his father, but once even threatened him with a pew pew. The parents hoped letting him live at home with a weekly stint would help. DeFeo barely held a job. On the day in question, DeFeo left work and went to the bar. He kept calling his home to no avail and complained to patrons about it. He eventually left, returned around 6:30 a.m. when he started yelling, "You gotta help me. I think my mother and father are shot." The authorities got there. They found all 6 family members dead in their beds with said they had shot around 3:15 and positioned on their stomachs. There was no sign of struggle nor that they were drugged. No local reports of gunshots were logged, with only the DeFeo dog barking away. He changed his story and his alibi quite a few different times throughout the years of being, interrogated and whatnot. Mm-mm. From claiming he was at the bar during the time of the murders to mob hitman Luis Fantilli killing his family while forcing DeFeo Jr. to watch. He eventually confessed to everything when he stood on trial October 14th of 1975. They tried to do an insanity plea, but the prosecution was like, no, he's a known drug addict, was well aware of what he was doing at the time of the murders. And he was convicted on 6 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced to 6 concurrent sentences to 25 years life in prison. So, then, shortly after that, in December of 1975, comes along the Lutz family. Alright. I'm all over the place, I know. Because I got 2 different reports here. Because I found, different things. And you never know what's the truth when you look at things on the internet. So, like I said, in December of 1975, the Lutz family came in. And right away, they started reporting some unusual activity, like paranormal activity. George and Kathy Lutz getting the house for a steal. The family of 5 moved into the 5-bedroom home, and 28 days later, the family had ran from the house and the property with their tails between their legs, never looking back. They bought the house for $80,000. They said they started seeing green slime oozing from the walls, eyes peering into the house from the outside, to foul odors. Kathy allegedly levitating in bed. It was rather disquieting month. George claimed that he woke up at 3:15 each night, and the exact time of the death of the DFAO family members. Jay Anderson's 1977 book, The Amityville Horror, was based on these reported events and served as a foundation for the 1979 film of the same name, which was remade in 2005. So they reported pretty much the same activity. And if I'm going off by what the movie did, because I have the movie, but I also like to do my research. So when there has been many, many controversies around the house and events that took place, you know, reports from the investigators Ed and Lorraine documented demonic presences. The home to get the family had lived there. Both families left themselves wide open to inflictions. Ronald DeFeo and his mind-altering substance abuse, Ronald Sr. and the negative energy behind his abuse, and George Lutch, who dabbled in the occult. So there was a lot of things that happened inside this house and on the land that a lot of things could reportedly done anything. You bring negative energy into your home, and I'm a firm believer in, like, if you have too much EMF in your home, you can trick your mind. I just had to explain this to somebody the other day, that he was saying that there was bad things happening to him, and I'm like, dude, there's nothing in your house. I'm around you all the time. Nothing is in your house. You're making this stuff up. And the only reason why I say that, because I'm not the one that will sit there and say somebody's making stuff up. But this man doesn't go anywhere, doesn't allow nobody in his place, and he doesn't play with the dead. So I had to explain to him a lot of stuff, how a lot of hauntings happen, I guess you could say. It was a long, hard conversation because this man is a skeptic believer. But anyway, back to the Lutz family. So the hauntings of the Lutz family reported that they, felt strange sensations throughout the house. Within a few days, drastic changes were happening. His and Kathy's health both started deteriorating drastically.
I'll be right back. I gotta go tell Joe something. Because of Kaden.
What happened?
Kaden's not being open that window. That window being open and Tank being out, Tank will bust through that window, especially during the night.
The joys of having kids and neighborhood kids come to your house. Anyway, so, George kept waking up at 3:15. A lot of things had happened, and the main target was George. And his behavior became really abusive and just really horrible to his family. And then when he was away from the house, he was perfectly fine. So, they tried contacting Catholic priests to help them come and cleanse the house. And then they would get, will you stop? And then, the Warrens investigated the place. There's quite a few, but with everything that's happened and the the murders of the house, like the murders of the DeFeo family, and what happened with the Lutz family after 28 days. It's like nobody could stay in this house 28 after 28 days. So it became very popular, and a lot of people were coming in, and the town did not want, didn't want to let anybody in the house because they were afraid that something was going to happen to these people, and so they ended up changing the address. And now you can still drive by the house. I believe it is now owned by somebody. I would have to look. Like I said again, my health was not the best this week, so I didn't get to do what I wanted to do for these locations. But that's okay. We make it work each and every week. It won't be my show if something didn't go haywire. But since we only have a few minutes here left, I will go over the updates that I have for everybody this week. So, we are still full on the inside for Perry Unity 7, which is October 25th at the Miami County Fairgrounds in Peru, Indiana. But we are still taking registration for outside vendors. That was just weird. All right. So, and September 20th, me and Pepe will be back at the Fall Arts and Oddities Market down in Peru. So make sure you come out and see us then. And then we have two things going on next month. So on the 29th, I will be in Pearson, Indiana with some people, helping do an event with them. I don't have very much details on that one yet, so I can't give them out. And then October, I have another event with Lunar Vibes. And then, of course, Perry Unity. And then November, December, I have events. But given with the information that I had gotten on Wednesday from a doctor's appointment, I do not know what's going to happen just yet. I will keep everybody updated on steady conditions. I can't really say too much more. So that is the updates that I have for you guys. So we're just going to chill out and hang out. And now we need to pick our next locations for next week. So anybody want to pick a number between 1 and 175? Come on, Mama. Here, baby. I'm done. Oh, baby. It was really good, thank you.
Yep.
Mommy just can't really eat too much right now.
But we just still catch his sleeps.
So we're just, huh?
I didn't finish mine either.
Here, oh, get that picked up.
Doesn't spell. We're good.
So 1 and 175. Somebody give me a number. Well, I think I'm going to end it here. I love you guys. I will see you next week, and I'll make sure to tell you all the locations. So don't be afraid to like, comment, share out, and between 1 and 175. I will keep an eye out. Love you guys. Mwah.